States have crossed over the border into Canada. A reminder that systemic oppression is a problem here too. What does the federal government think about these protests? What are they willing to do? Ahmed Hussen, the Minister of Social Development, joins us from Ottawa. Now, Minister, I hope you and your family are okay. Thank you, sir. Those powerful words we're hearing from Minneapolis there, from Bishop Harding Smith. I'm interested to hear your thoughts when you saw this video, and people know that you are in cabinet, the only black member of cabinet. How did this resonate with you when you saw that video of Mr. Floyd, sir?
Evan, I'm still processing the images from that video. It is shocking. It is disturbing. It is quite painful to watch that video. And I have 3 young boys. My oldest son is 10 years old, and I still have not had the strength to have the conversation with him. How do you explain to a 10-year-old boy growing up as a young black boy in Canada that how do you explain those images, that footage to him, that the very person who was supposed to keep someone safe is engaged in a slow motion death of an innocent black man? I mean, it is shocking, it is disturbing, and I'm still processing those images. And I've talked to many members of the black community, friends and family members, who are still really shocked and disturbed by those images. It is traumatic, as your previous speaker has said.
Did you, I mean, we will talk about politics in a minute, but this is also very personal. Did you experience racism in your life? Did this bring back some experiences?
Evan, the surprise for me and many others in the black Canadian community is just how often we're asked that question. It is a lived reality for so many of us. I could be a member of parliament and a minister in Canada, and Canada has been fantastic and an open and generous country to me and many other people. But at the same time, we do have the lived experience and the reality, the daily reality for too many Canadians of color who go through this every single day. I have been followed in stores. I instinctively, my back gets up when a police cruiser comes behind me as I drive. This is a daily reality for too many people.
For you, when you see a police cruiser, your back gets up? Because you're a minister of the crown. That is incredible. I mean, I'm not saying it doesn't. That still stuns me, even though it shouldn't, but it does.
It shouldn't, because you just have to look at the history of racial profiling in Canada. It is a reality for far too many young black men and women. And you know, I still get followed around in stores. I remember one time I went into a store to get cold medication, and I was followed from the moment I stepped on the store. And I looked at my staff member who was on the other side of the store, and she was not followed. She happened not to be a member of the black community, but she was surprised that I was being followed around. And for me, I was not surprised. But it's not about me. It's about, this is a very common reality for far too many people in our country. And it is important for us to acknowledge it, to listen to those people, to listen to that frustration, to listen to that lived reality. And only then can we start to talk about solutions to this really enduring problem.
The Prime Minister was asked about this today, and one of the reporters asked him if the fact that he wore blackface at least 3 times, does it undermine his credibility on this issue? What do you think on that? Is Mr. Trudeau's credibility undermined by the fact that he did wear blackface?
I think there's no question that the images were disturbing, and you know that at the time he addressed those questions very effectively. He took the issue head on. And the media has had numerous opportunities to ask him. What I choose to focus on is his position on anti-black racism. He's the first Prime Minister in Canadian history to publicly acknowledge that anti-black racism is real. It is something that we all need to tackle, not just black Canadians, but all of us. And I choose to see the work that he has done and continues to do with all our team members to tackle this issue, to push forward policy.
How do we tackle it? What solutions are there? The Prime Minister talked about we need better data. There are some people say it's not just about money, in fact, and we'll talk to some folks later in the show. You know, if you look at municipalities, the police have the biggest budgets. Montreal, $662 million to spend on policing, $115 million on social housing and food inspection. What's the answer? Is it More policing? Is it taking some of that funding and moving it elsewhere? Is it better data? What is it?
They don't need more policing of their lives. What they need is to be listened to. What they need is to be heard and to be acknowledged for the lived reality of anti-Black racism in Canada. And once we acknowledge that, once another journalist doesn't have to ask whether anti-Black racism is real in Canada or not, then we can start to talk about the solutions. But we're not even there yet. We are still at the point where, for many in Canada, their voices are not being heard, and that's the frustration that you see. And so I think we need to.
But you're in government now. So what do you do now? I press you because you're in a position of great power. What does the federal government do?
I think representation matters. I think it is important for everyone to take the responsibility for us in leadership positions, but also for those who are in positions of responsibility. This is not just a mission for Black Canadians, it is for all of us, for allies, for everyone, because if a segment of our population is being held back by systemic discrimination and anti-Black racism and unconscious bias, it should be a challenge to all of us to make sure that we enable the dismantling of those obstacles, that we work on policies that work towards creating true inclusion. Look, Evan, diversity is a fact in Canada, but inclusion is a choice. We have to make the choice for inclusion. But it starts with having difficult conversations of the lived daily reality of dehumanizing anti-Black racism that is experienced by far too many people in Canada. Once we have that conversation, once we can listen to those frustrations and those personal stories, then we can move forward. I don't want to be in a position where we have these conversations, decades from now with my 3 young sons. I want them to have a better chance to experience shopping and to experience running in the neighborhood, jogging, basic things that they shouldn't be afraid to do, that sometimes I'm afraid to do. I mean, let alone others. So these things have to be talked about, and only then can we sensitize people to the lived reality of so many of us. And then we can move forward. And I want to really thank members of our team who have welcomed these conversations. I will give them so much credit for listening and for being willing to talk about what we need to do more to include everyone, not just Black Canadians, but Indigenous peoples, all marginalized peoples in Canada. And that will only make it a better country. It's not going to take anything from us. If anything, it'll make Canada an even better country than it already is.
There is an endless war against injustice and racism. I hope there always is. Thank you, Minister. I always appreciate having you on the program. For that, a very personal account and an important one. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Evan.